Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. I get to listen to high school coaches a lot, and a lot of their journeys are similar. Some people played a little bit, and some were high school players. Then they got going in education in junior high, then grinded, worked their way up, but then they became a varsity head coach. I don't know, and I can't imagine the journey that it takes from where you started to becoming to being on an NBA staff and working for Coach Rivers, and so just could you take me through that journey of like how you started and how you got there?
Yeah, well, my overall philosophy, I guess, and I didn't know it was that, it's what I did, is just to really, truly try and be the best I can at where I am. So I believe that if you do that and word is supposed to get out, it will get out, right? Kind of like Doc used to call it the basketball gods, right? That the basketball gods will take care of our team if we play right and we play unselfish. And I've carried that over even into my speaking. And probably that was an underlying theme throughout my career. So that was simply what I tried to do. And then when I saw opportunities, I tried to seize them, right? So it could be something like what really started to propel me in corporate speaking was when I was with the Los Angeles Clippers. We had a group that's called the YPO, Young Presidents Organization. And this is a group of business owners who had to make a certain amount of millions of dollars a year, right? And have X amount of employees. So they wanted to do something different in their regional conference that year. So they called the Clippers and said, hey, is there anything you think you guys could do that could give us an experience that our people, even though they make a lot of money, they can't get? You can't buy the experience. So I came up with, let's go ahead and put them through like a real training camp, right? Like as if they were in it on our team. So, and put them through the experience of being on an NBA team. So we had jerseys ready. We had everything.
Nice.
So we put them through like a typical like summer camp, all the drills, right, that you would go through. So they went through station work. That was 1/3 of the group. Another third of the group was watching film and how we watch film and how we teach off of film. They were in our film room. And then the third group, we gave them kind of a typical pregame talk, like what goes on in the locker room before the game. Well, I saw that also as an opportunity. A bunch of business leaders. So I'll for sure go over like game plans and that sort of thing. And then I'll also talk about some things that made us successful, right? And it was that part of it that I thought might resonate with them. And at one point say, hey, we should have Kevin come in and talk to our people. And sure enough, it did. So we took care of everything we needed to do. We actually, as they told me, you gave us an extra bonus because you told us a little bit about what made you guys successful, not just what you say before the game.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a win-win. But so I seized that opportunity. I didn't make it about me because they learned a lot and they learned kind of some inside stuff that we don't tell a lot of people. So I think I was always on the lookout for opportunities, but in such a way where the opportunity might help me, but if I did my job with it, it would really help that group I was working with, right? So, and then the other part of it is, there's right and wrong. And I always try to do right? Even if it was maybe at the expense of not being best for me. So those are just a few of the things that helped me along my journey, as well as I was a little bit shy and introverted in my early part of my career. So I figured I had to figure out a way to combat that. And the way I figured it out was through two areas, knowledge and preparation. For my age at that particular time, whatever age I was not going to let anyone out knowledge me. about my craft. And then I always wanted to be prepared, right? And what I found was, even though I might have been a little shyer or maybe not sure of myself earlier in my career, I never had to lead conversations really or drive conversations because people were always asking me questions. I can answer any question. Now, at that particular point in my career, to actually like carry a conversation might not have been quite as good at that. So those are some things that helped me along my path.
You feel like especially what you said about the way you went looking for opportunities, how you didn't make it about yourself, but you were open and willing to take advantage of when they were there. You think that's a message that's common today? Because in cutthroat businesses or wanting to work your way up, I feel like the message so many times is you have to make it happen. You have to break down every door and you have to, step on anybody that you can to get there. Do you find that that's more the message that we hear, but you were able to do it, in a different way?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly could and maybe is the message that people are receiving, but I think that can backfire, right? I think that can be a short-term jolt. It's just like I often talk about know-it-alls.
Hmm.
And know-it-alls sometimes can get ahead of us early in the game, meaning the game of success, the game of climbing the ladder. But I think ultimately it's the learn-it-alls that eventually pass the know-it-alls. So for me, I think we just have to do what's comfortable to us. And did I miss? Now, I wasn't going out and trying to find opportunities because I was so ingrained in doing the best job I could at where I was. But anything that came across my desk or through my life, I would always think about, okay, well, how can I utilize this with this hierarchy? Number one is to help those who asked about me or wanted me to be a part of something. And then number two, how can I make it such that when I'm done this, I might have been able to help myself by letting them know exactly a little bit deeper who I am and how I operate, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying the other way is wrong because it's probably helped. Well, not wrong. The other way is best.
Yeah.
Because it may have helped those people. But I think, and that has to do with self-reflection, right?
Yeah.
You got to know who you are and you got to live within who you are. Because I think smart people, which we hopefully probably feel that many people are that are running companies and giving us, now I'm giving you the panoramic view of my desk.
I was gonna celebrate you in a second of you're able to hold on a conversation while moving the computer so that the sun, it's incredible.
Yeah, that's my afterlife. I'm going to be a producer behind the scenes. But like yesterday, I was on some Zooms, and there was some bad weather coming through. It didn't touch down near us, but there were some tornadoes coming through with states around us. It was so dark outside, and today I'm looking out to our backyard. It is so light. So by the end of the day, I think your listeners and viewers will get a 360-degree look at my office at the top.
Oh, Coach, you can handle any adversity that comes your way. You can handle it.
Yeah, well, so now we're getting into the TV portion of my.
That's right. I get to see your whole study. This is incredible.
So I think the big thing is figuring out who are you and how do you want to operate, and stick within those.
Yeah.
We've often one of the things I also talk about quite often is how important values are to not just us personally in our journey and climb up our individual ladders, but obviously to teams and organizations too. And we had that FBI scandal maybe 4 or 5 years ago in college basketball. And I don't know who did what because I'm not privy to all the facts. But I do know this: if some of the things that were alleged actually took place, I don't think any of those coaches came out of the womb and said, I just want to be the worst person and cheat my entire way to get to the top. I think they came out with probably wanting to do things the right way. And then I don't, who knows, some outside forces. It could be a potential loss of a job. It could be not enough wins. It could be my reputation's on the line. So I'm going to maybe make an exception here on one of my values. Obviously, the value that was the exception was in the area of integrity, probably, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to make an exception here. It'll be okay. It's one time. But what you find out with exceptions is it's easy to make that a habit. Bill Parcells once said when he was talking about how to put together a team in the NFL, he said, you have to be careful of taking exceptions. He said, one maybe, but if you take one and then two and then three, before you know it, when you look in your locker room, you actually have a team of exceptions, not a team of the culture that you really wanted to establish.
I think
Can I
that.
take your coffee?
Excuse me?
Am I okay if I have a sip of coffee?
Yes, sir. No problem.
Mhm.
No problem. Oh, that's good. It made me think of George Barber is a basketball coach at a D3 school at Greenville University. And I was talking with him and he mentioned, making the big time where you are. And because I think I'm in a small private school and there's been time, I'm 40 years old. So I'm not young, but I'm not saying that I'm old either. And there's been times where I've wondered, that ambition side of me or that drive comes up and I'm wondering what's next? Like, is there something more that I'm supposed to be doing? And if you get caught in that, you can miss some of those opportunities or even miss the reason of why you're where you're at. I think your idea of, being excellent in everything that you do will kind of help you to make the big time where you're at.
Yeah, and I think I know one thing for sure. If you're not good at where you are, there will not be an opportunity to maybe take in whatever in your mind is a next step up the ladder. So logic states to me that we all should. I think we should anyway, right? We've been given all of us have been given maybe different gifts. Whatever the belief system is of all the people that are listening to this, whether they're incredibly spiritual, kind of spiritual, or don't believe at all. Somehow we've been given gifts. And I think we have to reflect on what those gifts are. And the gift may be that I am supposed to be working with young people from ages 14 to 17, right? Because I was listening to Frank Martin, who just got the job at the University of Massachusetts. He had been the South Carolina coach, went to the Final Four at South Carolina. And he said something in his press conference. He said, it's not just who they are walking into your building or your program. It's all about who they are when they walk out, right? So it doesn't matter the level. We all have the opportunity to impact, right? So let's do our job where we are. And then I do think ultimately the basketball gods, in our case, our sport, will take care of us in some way.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.